Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. First game of the round of 8 between Ash Dreamer and Ertric. Sorry about if you guys are diving into this one like, hey, where's game 3 between? Because you said there was a game 3. I misspoke. Scout advances. It was a 2-0 right there. That was best of 3. I don't know why my brain farted and thought Frost won game 1. But nevertheless, I actually even have Dreamer in chat so I can... It's got the main course. That's a good way to put it from Jiraiya. This is going to be on Polypoid. We have upper left-hand corner. We have Ash Dreamer as the green Protoss. Bottom left-hand corner, we have Ertric as the blue Terran. I do want to give... I'm kind of giving the shout-outs in chat. I want to give it on YouTube as well. If you go to Ash_Dreamer_, you can watch Dreamer play on Twitch, and actually is streaming quite often. And I think it's a joy to watch. And yeah, I actually said this before. I'm kind of rooting for him to win this season. Mostly to see kind of that rivalry between him and Master Ray kind of pick up. We'll see. We have the... Yeah, and Ertric in the dark blue. This is my... People are discussing, okay, what is your least favorite color? And it's between that, like, kind of puke green, I think, that people are saying it's like olive green. But this is my least favorite just because it's so hard. Like, don't even look at where I'm pointing right now. It's just so hard to read the actual player name. In here, we see a supply depot being placed down. We do see a gateway inside base. Dreamer, I feel like his big strength in a lot of these matchups has just been his ability to just force his opponents to try to react on multiple fronts simultaneously. And particularly if this match goes in, I'm wondering if there's a pick to Shakura's Plateau. We saw previously where Arbiter recalls and things like that were just played so powerfully on that map. I feel like a lot of the map selection pool could play very much into Dreamer's favor as a result. Grabbing the assimilator alongside, we'll see if he opts to go with Zealot Pressure. No Probe Scout as of yet. We do see a Refinery and a Barracks going down for Ertric. Pretty standard play thus far. He's going to go ahead and send out his SEV Scout, and that SEV Scout looks like it's going to be heading... Is it going to be cross-map Scout? Nope, looks like he is, in fact, just going to be heading to Dreamer's base initially, so he is going to have a slight scouting advantage. Dreamer, oddly enough, not scouting at all currently. 2 pylons down in the front. Also, no Zealot to start. So he's going to be playing a little bit in the dark versus Ertric. First Marine is being produced to go ahead and be able to shoot that gap in case any Zealots were coming on along the way. But here's the thing. When Ertric moves in and he sees this initial Dragoon, we'll see if he just goes ahead and walks out to his natural expansion, plops down. No, he's going to go ahead and seal himself in. So he's already building this initial supply depot. I almost wonder if he even needs to do this, considering the fact that Dreamer does... I mean, he doesn't know where he's located. He's actually getting a quick weapons range. He's playing very much in the dark here. Factory being built alongside, and this is going to be a second and third Marine as well. And so maybe Ertric, yeah, so putting the initial supply depot down so he could cap it with an additional anything here on the front. And there, this is what I was expecting earlier, placing that bunker down. First Dragoon is out, second Dragoon on the way. That first Dragoon moving forward to try to get at least some initial pressure and maybe some scouting for Dreamer. Probe wanting to go ahead and plant that natural expansion down, so going for 1 gate into expand comparatively. That looks like, I think that SCV realizing that's the case, so he's just going to go ahead and plop things out. He's worried about a follow-up Dragoon. He's just going to back off. And yeah, we see Dreamer actually scouting. Oh, scouting with the Dragoon to start, which means Ertric is just going to have a lot of advantages. He's not going to have to worry about that early bunker harass on his front door. He can go ahead and grab his natural expansion without a huge amount of fear, to be honest. He is, interestingly enough, going for... So, wow. So Ertric following this up, he's getting a factory with the machine shop, skipping the initial tank. No, and perhaps realizing that Nexus is going to go up, he's grabbing a starport, so he's going to go Vulture drop and harass to start. And Dreamer is going to be in a lot of trouble because maybe he's going to sacrifice this Dragoon to eat a lot of damage and kind of sneak through and get a peek at that natural expansion to see a lack of a command center there. But he's also playing very light. He has gone 1 gate into robotics facility after the Nexus. So he's playing very troop light, which is going to be all the better for Ertric. Getting, it looks like, Vulture speed and should have mines upgraded alongside. This is the thing for Ertric, at least in the prior matches, is sometimes he was playing a little bit too greedy, trying to do too much at once. Yeah, you can see that Dragoon taking some initial damage, going in, seeing that there's no command center, and backing out. So at the very least, Dreamer knows that there's some form of tech, and usually Vulture Drop is one of those things that you would expect, but that's 2 weakened Dragoons that are going to have to deal with this, and they are somewhat out of position. in regard to this, and he doesn't know whether he's going up against a factory push or what. Vulture speed finishing. We do see that dropship on the way. Second gate up, a shuttle being built for Dreamer rather than an observatory. Is he going to go robo? I think he's going to go. So never mind. He has that observatory that's actually being built towards that natural expansion, perhaps anticipating vulture pressure. Can just slot a single Dragoon to blockade that out. Is fanning his 4 Dragoons out. Unfortunately, the direction he's fanning those 4 Dragoons, as far as a defensive procedure, is not going to... We'll see if he redirects them and moves them out to the left here. But at the very least, he's not going to, 1, stop this SCV scout if it sneaks underneath. But 2, he's going to be somewhat out of position. He's going to have to draw these all the way back to the main to deal with these vulture drops. Shuttles there, robotic support bay. I think Dreamer was hoping to be the one to be the aggressor. And instead, he is going to be the aggressee. So, SCV Scout does get denied, but the vultures are already dropping off. They're going to be able to wander in, and this is going to be a probe massacre. Ooh, this is ugly. I feel bad that Dreamer's in chat watching this right now, and he's going to have the PTSD from reliving this nightmare. The Dragoons now pulling back to go ahead and deal with this, but the damage is already done. That was a very, very successful vulture drop. Dreamer down to 14 probes, is finally wandering these probes back to the natural expansion. On top of everything else, Ertric got a good look at the full Dragoon count and saw the robotics facility and the robot. So basically, not only did he get a drop inside Dreamer's base, he got a good look at the tech, and he was able to take out a bunch of probes on top of it. His natural expansion's up. He's got that siege tank. He's plopping some turrets to follow this up. He's got 26 SCVs. His basically overall head in the general count is a little bit factory light. He's building, I like this play. He is getting a Wraith to go ahead and follow this up to deal with that Reaver in the shuttle. And I love it when Terrans do this, actually. We saw Mine to do this in actually, I think it was the winning game in the MSL. We are going to see a single Dragoon. Keep in mind, Wraith are basically paper airplanes. But it's going to be a Reaver and a Dragoon moving up. This dropship moving up to provide some scouting information against a potential drop. That Wraith, actually, was that a second dropship? No. We did. I thought we saw a Wraith. It's got to be around here somewhere. There's the Wraith. Kind of fanning and patrolling that direction to go ahead and deal with the Reaver that might be incoming. Plus, there's turrets to ward this off, so Dreamer might not get a lot accomplished here. Reaver dropping on the low ground. It's going to force a couple SCV off the line to do some repair. Actually, too many SCV. Ertric overcommitting right there. Dreamer sitting back. The game's not over yet. He is doing a pretty good job of macroing his way back into this. He's back up to 26 probes, but definitely on the back foot. The Wraith wandering out, looking to find where that shuttle may have gone. He wants to go ahead and pick that off while it's up in the air. Fortunately for Dreamer, it's going to go ahead and wander back into the protective cusp of his base where Dragoons are waiting for a potential counter drop. Dreamer still sitting on two gateways and actually producing out of those, but going ahead and taking the 12 o'clock to follow this up. Feeling that he has map control, which he does, because Ertric, with that initial starport, did not produce a lot of factories, and it's a little bit because it was basically 4 vultures. That was a lot of tanks that weren't produced in that interim time, plus gas that was going to that Wraith, etc., etc. So I like this play from Dreamer. Try to catch up economically and go ahead and take the 12. And while I say catch up economically, he's actually in a great position here. Wraith engaging that shuttle, forcing a low ground drop for that Reaver. That Reaver taken out by that Dragoon. Again, yeah, paper airplane. But that shuttle is just going to have to wander back. Probably not going to be involved in a lot of additional drops. Maybe a Goliath on the ground could punish it later if it is attempting to be utilized as kind of like that Zealot drop blockade. Or that, I guess blockade's not the right word. A Zealot drop on the fixed position tanks. And they should have full shield by then, but just has that base 8 energy. Dreamer does have good eyes on the front of Ertric's base. Currently, Ertric going up to the 4 factories is about halfway there on weapons 1, and is kind of settling back into standard play. Also getting the science facility. Actually, I just realized, okay, this is kind of an aside, but did you notice it almost looks like it's like the starport could have been a battle cruiser, right? With this little nozzle right there. I don't know. Apparently, this is the ADD cast. We do have a Goliath now out to deal with that. Ertric continuing to macro up, but Dreamer as I was going to say, aside from having a little bit of a supply cap right this second, does have 3 bases. He's equalized the overall worker count, and he's actually ahead about 20 supply, which is generally where you want to be. Dropping a couple of those pylons to go and a cannon at that 12 o'clock to kind of seal things up. Otherwise, still only been sitting on 2 gateways this entire time, so he's going to be a little bit thin on troops. If Ertric went for that 11-minute timing push, that would have been end game. I don't think Ertric's going for that, though, here. Level 1 weapons is going to finish in about 30 seconds. 30 seconds? Commentator, like, I wish there was a little bar that you could see it here and, like, tick it down. Level 1 weapon, level 1 armor on the way as well. Ertric is more kind of making that position of like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go for that level 2, level 1 armor timing attack. That does give time for Dreamer to mount something in the interim. He's got that photon cannon in his main, which once that's up, he's going to feel a little bit better about pushing out with those Dragoon forces rather than having them sit at home base, grabbing a lot of additional gateways. It's actually at this stage where I like to see, and actually, yeah, a lot of additional gateways. This is usually the position where I like to see, rather than Gateway Man, like Quick Arbiter, to get that energy to have those stasis in the mid-game. Mostly because Gateway Man works really well when you have that economic lead. Here, Dreamer, even though he does have an economic lead overall, doesn't know his precise economic position, given a lot of that early game harass. Poor Bangalos, stuck in his little cage. Trying to peek forward with that observer. Sees the turrets and backs off. Some nice bit of micro right there. Ertric gathering up. He does have level 1 weapons. And kind of on a little bit of delay. Looks like he's starting to position to go ahead and take control of that mineral only. Sieging on the low ground. Does have an SCV in position. And he's going to be able to take this, honestly, without a fight. Level 2 weapons on the way. Shuttle now being scooped up. So Dreamer thinking about going ahead and pushing out. He has a probe moving to that upper right-hand base. Wants to go ahead and take his 4th. Now that he sees Ertric grabbing his 3rd. And both players are kind of settling in for more of a macro-based game. We do see a Stargate and a Templar Archives in the back. No Arbiter Tribunal just yet. And I think that is going to be key for Dreamer. To get those Arbiters out. And to have a lot of energy in his pocket. Especially at this stage of the game, because right now I just feel like because he was on 2 gate for such a long period of time, it's a little bit lighter of an attack force. And again, apologies. Remember, everybody, get exercise. I will do the Chinese message for you. Why fight against it, right? Be sure to get exercise, everybody. That's good advice. Not just 5 hours clicking away on your computer. Dreamer pushing a little bit forward. Honestly, there's enough mines and enough siege tanks that I don't know that he really has a position, especially coming from a vertical attack route, to do anything here. The observer moving across. Question is will he realize this and go for that attack? Pushing in. Vulture's a little out of position, and an abrupt defense matrix on the front. And yeah, Dreamer immediately getting ejected and pulling back. The Zealot's getting creamed. And I think he got 1 siege tank out of that attack. Got 1 siege tank, 1 turret. Not a great trade. And the probe actually not plopping down that base. Perhaps that was an exploratory. Unfortunately for him, now he's taking this upper right-hand base right as the Vultures are moving out for Ertric. To go ahead and get eyes on it. It looks like he has started to move out towards that mineral only to maybe establish that position as well. This single Vulture is going to be able to wander up. And honestly, that Vulture force is going to be able to deny all of this. This is enough Vultures where they can just stop that expansion in the upper right if they want. And there's enough mines where it could be delayed and at least slow that down. Ertric with an overall supply lead here. Those Zealots going to get taken out. A couple mines planted by those Vultures to keep the Zealot force thin. So things going really well for Ertric currently. This upper right-hand base is going to get clobbered and halted back. He's at 3 base. 3 base versus 3 base. That usually gives a significant lead to Terran. We got the 5 factories up. Level 2 weapons online. Level 1... Sorry, is that level 1 already finished? Level 2 armor on the way. Level 2 weapons just about to come online. Stasis just finishing. Only a single Stargate. And this is where I feel, yeah, Dreamer is going to have some work to do because this is his first Arbiter at the 15-minute mark. Vultures, I like what he's doing with these Vultures, actually. Keep me on the low ground to deal with any sort of piecemeal attack force that's moving their way across. And you can see a lot of those mines triggered off. So Dreamer losing some additional units. Ertric has a supply lead overall. Now moving in with the rest of his units. And I think actually these Dragoons with their weapons upgrade, as long as they're microed, should be able to kill those 2 Dragoons out. And that's going to, again, keep an additional gas out of Dreamer's hands, which he needs to get those higher tier tech units and push on from there. Just now finishing level 2 weapons. Only a single Arbiter in the air, and just now taking that additional Nexus right there. Is going to lose, so yeah, the 2 Dragoons taken out. Going to end up losing that Nexus in the upper right. Everything going right for Ertric. Ertric actually just blindly taking that 9 o'clock base. Feeling that he's just close to 200 supply and is just going to kind of do that onslaught push at this stage. And unfortunately for Dreamer, as far as playing Refugee Toss or being able to stop this with pure Arbiter, his initial Arbiter here doesn't even have a single stasis ready. And might have a stasis as Ertric is pushing out. There's already a science vessel. EMP's still being researched. Dreamer moving out, hoping to catch this army before it is sieged and in position. But honestly, even with the level upgrades, a nice stasis. So that one stasis that was there was huge, catching a lot of those siege tanks. It looks like the Zealots also able to get mine drags onto those tanks. More tanks from the right, though. And more Vultures engaging. Dreamer with an initial engagement that was fantastic, but I don't know that he has the raw troop count to follow this up. We'll see. More Zealots pushing down and able to get on top of this. And actually the Dragoons just ignoring those siege tanks to the right. Ertric not unsieging them and re-engaging. So Dreamer finding some breathing room. He needs to regroup around these siege tanks before they unstasis, though. Otherwise, they will peel everything out. Some leftover mines going ahead and taking out these Dragoons before they're able to disrupt this 6 o'clock. Kind of taking restock, and now those tanks, yeah, unstasising and regrouping with their brethren. Comsat being required, and as a result, with that Arbiter overhead, some Zealots able to get an additional siege tank or 2. Arbiter still pounding away at siege tanks overhead. So Dreamer, honestly, through a nice engagement that paid off a little bit better than it was a little less bad than it could be because he's not contained at his natural expansion. However, there's still an enormous amount of siege tanks that are continuing to push up. A lot of Vultures to support this, and we do have a Goliath that is going to join this expeditionary force and be able to do damage there. A Vulture, actually, I like this from Ertric, just camped here to deal with that probe coming across, so more resources being denied. Dreamer finding this 9 o'clock. A good EMP catching a lot of these Zealots. 2 Arbiters overhead. But again, neither of them has energy for stasis. I think an EMP must have landed in that background. The Zealots pressing forward. Some Zealots able to get in that 9 o'clock, so they're able to kill a handful of SCVs and do some disruption here. That Goliath moving up, taking out 1 Arbiter. That second Arbiter in trouble. Needs to back off. I think that was another positive engagement overall. Dreamer continuing to apply that pressure. He does not want to get contained. Wants to make sure that Ertric is staying on the back foot, having to defend his expansions rather than him having to defend basically his supply and reinforcement lines. And so diving in and sacrificing a couple units. Another great stasis, plugging up that gap so that he can continue to threaten. So this is kind of a soft threat, though, honestly. He just doesn't have the attack force, I don't think, to really engage. Some High Templar joining the force. Level 1 armor also coming online for Dreamer as far as a follow-up engagement, but Ertric still at 156 supply versus 137. A fantastic position for him. Ertric a little bit oversupplying the SCV. That's something that's okay overall. 12 o'clock base has been established by Dreamer, but Ertric still in an excellent economic position overall. Resieging. Are the High Templar going to be able to get some Storm? Looks like not. I don't even know that Storm's upgraded. Storm's still in the midst of upgrading. Dreamer playing a little bit sloppy in this match. Perhaps a little bit sleepy, I'm not sure. Nexus being built across that mineral only. The Vulture sees it, doing some damage there. The Dragoons having to fight off some additional Vultures and walking into a mine. Ertric's still okay. He can basically sit back on what he's got and continue to macro up. And he's actually going to press forward. So while all of these troops were to the right defending that mineral only, he realizes, okay, now's my opportunity to go ahead and push up into Dreamer's mineral only. in the upper left-hand corner. An established position there, and it is a hop, skip, and a jump from this high ground into Dreamer's natural expansion, at which point, with those siege tanks and with some nice positioning, he can basically just take the game. A stasis might be able to equalize things here. There are Goliaths pushing back that stasis having to be used on the forward vultures. That's going to work against Dreamer's army, though. Psystorm's there. They are able to Psystorm a handful of tanks, but I don't see any follow-up Psystorms. With the close reinforcement points, it looks like Dreamer is able to get a group force to clean the rest of these siege tanks up, but he's lost that Nexus, and that is costly at this stage of the game. More reinforcements for Ertric pushing up, and I think, yeah, it's just too many. Too many reinforcements for Ertric are going to be able to clear this out. I think Dreamer's still going to be able to hold this high ground, and he desperately needs to, because if he doesn't, that could be game. Another Arbiter at close location, some Psystorm able to catch at least a siege tank over that low ground, but Dreamer doesn't have anything at his natural expansion. Is actually distance mining with a single probe, and the Vulture's starting to mine on the low ground, and that's GG from Dreamer, realizing that, yeah, it was just a moment from there, from Ertric to take the high ground and basically pin his forces in. He didn't have any additional expansions at any other location. So game 1, going to Ertric, we'll move on to game 2 momentarily.